What's up, everyone? My name is Wes, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. Back in May, I got the chance to interview Haze Gazer, a Minneapolis-based stoner metal trio. They released their debut EP, Ascension, back in January of this year. We talked about the band's history, their jam-based songwriting style, and how they bridged the gap between DIY punk and metal. Without any further ado, here's my conversation with Brian, Mia, and Michael of Haze Gazer on the Ear Coffee Podcast. How are we doing on this Tuesday night?
Doing pretty good. Just excited to be joining and meeting with you.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've had to reschedule like 3 times, and I apologize for that. But I'm glad we're finally able to make it happen. Cool. Just to get things started, since there may be people tuning in who haven't heard of the band, why don't we do a little bit of a round introduction where you just say your name, what's your role in the band, and we can start from there. Any order's fine.
Well, I'm Brian. I play guitar and do vocals for Haze Gazer.
I'm Mia. I play bass.
I'm Michael. I play drums.
Cool. I like starting interviews off pretty similarly because I find that anyone that makes music usually has a really strong connection with music just as a listener, first and foremost. So I'm curious, when/how did you each really first connect with music on like that deeper level where you really realize that this is something that you care about more than just pretty much everybody likes listening to music, like having the radio or a playlist going. But and like, what were those first, like maybe songs or bands that really just kind of hit you and blew your mind in a way that made you think, we kind of rethink everything when you were growing up?
Well, I think kind of like a lot of people whose dads are kind of like in the 50 to 60 or 40 range, you know, like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd was kind of a big introduction, like as kids. But you know, I think honestly one of the biggest one that went from like music my dad showed me to music that I actually got into was with like the 90s scene with Alice in Chains and Nirvana and bands like that and Soundgarden and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I my answer is so cringy, but like when I was in like 6th grade or whatever, I really got into I got into like pop punk music. So like Green Day and like the like hard emo shit, like My Chemical Romance, that was my jam when I was in middle school.
I feel like at this point, people we've gotten to a point where we can accept those bands because like those aren't cringe.
And
like those bands are sick.
Okay.
Maybe not Green Day, but
Well,
Yeah.
like
I'll say
certain
this.
of their albums, I'd defend.
I'll say this. The Black Parade and the one before that, was it 3 Cheers, are still
Three Cheers,
I'll
yeah.
die that those are fantastic albums.
Absolutely.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Mhm.
For me personally, it's similar to what Brian said, except my dad is like 20 years younger than yours. So he graduated high school in like 94. So he like grew up with all like Soundgarden, a lot of Soundgarden, a lot of Stone Temple Pilots, all that, but a lot of like hair metal too. So I was a lot of Metallica, a lot of Motley Crue. So I grew up on all that shit, like Deftones. So like really early 2000s too, like Deftones, Incubus, Mudvayne, all that shit. So like I was dancing to like Slipknot as like a fucking toddler. And then they like made me play the violin in like 4th grade. So I started with that, and then ever since then I've like just always had a passion for like instruments and music and everything. I think honestly Soundgarden's probably the band that I was like, holy shit, like
the band, yeah.
I want to make music. And like Black Veil Bride's probably
Throwback to moshing to them at that music fest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Oh, what a full circle moment that was.
Mia, you already kind of answered this, but I'm curious, what were the first bands that really got you into, I would say, like, quote unquote, heavy music? Like, since Haze Gazer is pretty heavy, I'd say, at least as far as like most like the punk bands you'd find around here. And usually that means you also listen to a good amount of metal and hardcore and stuff like that. So what were some of the bands and albums that really opened you up into that genre and made you want to make that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I kind of had a slow introduction to it, to be honest. But it was really bands like, and I hate to say this, but Korn was really like the first one that, like, really grasped me, and then I started being like, okay, this is a bit too much cringe, and started listening to equally as cringy bands in like Tool, and less cringy because of the music, but more cringy because of just the people who listen to it.
That's
Um,
facts.
I feel like this says a lot about you, Brian.
I know. I'm literally shitting on myself by
Yeah, honestly, no one's gonna. Everybody's gonna be like, "This is a corn band now." No,
saying, yeah. What, Haze Gazer doesn't use 7 strings? Fucking upsetting.
yeah, for me, like I said, I always grew up listening to metal. But I think probably like middle school, I was just interested in it. That was like with screamo, was like metalcore was like a whole thing too. At that point, it's probably like what, like 2012, 2013. So, but yeah, I honestly just found everything on my own, like just from like my dad having played it for me when I was younger. So like I listened to a lot of Slipknot. I was a kid, I was that kid. I was that girl who thought she was really cool. She listened to Slipknot, and then I got really into like old punk too. So like Misfits, Black Flag, all that shit I really liked. So yeah.
Cool. Michael?
I don't listen to metal music. That's that's the one big secret about our band is like, I mean, I know I got into a couple albums just like being a part of Haze Gazer, like Sleep's Holy Mountain and like Dope Throne and shit like that. But
Yeah.
like other than that, like my knowledge is next to none.
I guess a little bit of transitional question then. What made you want to? Did you know that you guys were going to be making this kind of stuff when you joined, and when you I guess first started making music together and we're talking about the band, and what drew you to making this kind of music then, Michael, if you weren't even really much of a fan, or at least like an active listener of the kind of stuff that you guys would be drawing inspiration of, even like if Sleep is a kind of a tent pole for stoner doom and metal in general.
Well, I know like I came to the band because Mia, I already played in the band with Mia. We did like something for Battle of the Bands at our high school.
So embarrassing. So
It was with Jacob.
yeah,
who
the
was
worst
also
fucking
here.
band to ever exist in this world. But it was really fun.
It was fun. But then Mia was like, hey, like me and my friend Brian are making a band together. She's like, you want to come join? I was like, sure. And then you just sent me, I think it was like what, Dragonaut or something. Like just what the idea you were
Most
looking for.
basic stoner metal song ever. Yeah.
It is,
Like,
but
play
like
this.
it's still a classic. It's still a classic. And
Yeah.
you were like, can you learn this by like next week? And I was like, okay.
And we didn't learn it. I think Bride and I kind of always knew we wanted to be in a band. I think and at that point we were just, I don't know if I can say this on the podcast. We were smoking a lot of weed. And
You
so
can
we
say
were like,
that.
okay, cool. We were smoking a lot. And we were hanging out at that point too.
Mhm.
And we were like, we are both kind of musicians. Why don't we just make a band? Like, why don't we play together? We like have done like random music projects for years and years and years. And we made like a playlist too. We made like a playlist of, like, yeah. And so we made like a playlist of like kind of what we wanted our band to sound like, just because we were both just kind of like pissy, and we're both like seniors in high school too. So we're just kind of like going through a lot with that and everything. So we're just kind of like angry ass motherfuckers. So I think kind of with that, we kind of decided how we wanted to sound like, and then we just made Michael play drums for it.
God bless.
That's pretty much the gist, yeah.
Yeah. That was like late summer, early fall 2019 or so. Like, was that?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometime around there.
So I guess when you were first getting started, beyond just telling Michael to learn songs, then he wouldn't learn them. That throwing a little bit of shade. I'm sorry. when you were first like getting together and working on music and booking gigs, because you had only a tragic 6 months or so to play gigs before everything shut down. But when you were first getting started, did you focus more on writing some songs, or at least like structures of songs before you start playing gigs, or was it much more kind of like flying by the seat of your pants, just jamming and making as much noise as possible? Like, what was your approach in those early days and as you were starting to play gigs?
Yeah, it was honestly most of the time I would kind of come up with a riff and then just be like, "Hey guys, let's play this. This is cool." And then and then like a week later we'd usually have a gig and I'd be like, "You guys are set to play that, right?" And
One practice.
yeah, like have practiced it once. And that was kind of how like 90% of the songs that we actually have written have gone. So yeah, I mean, now the pandemic has really messed with the writing scheme because we don't have a deadline to like learn by because the gigs are all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also had like oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, we had a set of like 5 songs that we would just play like at every show, and then we would just give or take like 1 or 2 throughout the months. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah, no, you're so right. Yeah. I think we had like 2 songs or 2 or 3 that we had written, and like a cover or 2, and like that was it. Like we were good. I don't know. I think for like the beginning of it, like we never just really took ourselves seriously. Like it was never anything that like we want to like play a bunch of gigs and like be really well known. Like we did it for like we just wanted to like have fun, and like Brian and I would just like get stoned in his basement and like write riffs and then be like, yeah, we can play that at a gig. I guess that could be a song. And then we just brought it to Michael, and then like we just kind of jamming it together and be like, fuck it, we can play this at the gig next week. Yeah.
I guess that's like,
I don't think we ever took it serious.
that's like one of the main pluses of playing to primarily like drunk 19-year-olds in a basement. Like
that's facts.
That's the ideal audience for this kind of stuff. Like the riffs hit different.
Exactly. I don't think
be like, that was the best thing I've ever heard, and we're like, I don't remember what we just played.
When you were working out the 3 songs, at least, that ended up on Ascension, the EP you put out in January, was that like a little bit more honed in? Like you wanted to make sure you had these 3 songs, like at least the bones of it, pretty much solid before going into the studio, or was it kind of similar? Like you were just planning on going in, hitting record, and then just kind of seeing what comes out of it, much like you would for all the shows that you played pre-pandemic and such.
Honestly, 2 of them, yeah, 100%. Like those are completely like flying, just kind of playing what we knew already and like not really putting too much thought into it. I think the only exception to that is Latin Bullshit, really. Like that's the only song that we've actually like, written. You know?
Yeah, like sat down and like really hashed it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had another song too. We had 4 songs originally. And the one that we didn't put on there, it's called Dream Thief. If you've been to a gig, you've heard it like a million fucking times. So that was like one of the 3 songs we had written at that point. But it just didn't record well. We just didn't like how it sounded, so we ended up scrapping that one. But yeah, to what Brian said, Latin Bullshit and like kind of Ascension too. We
a little bit.
A little bit. We actually spent some time like kind of fixing it up and making sure we really liked everything. Crimson Sky, I don't know, is like the first song we ever fucking wrote, so we were like, it's gotta go.
Yeah.
So, and you can tell. So yeah.
Where did you guys record that, and how did that all come about? What was the timeline for that?
So we recorded at Minnehaha Recording Company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we recorded with Hunter Hawthorne. He is a great friend of mine. We worked at the garage together. We were in booking.
Okay.
So I had known him from that, and I knew he was working at a studio, and I didn't really want to record at the garage. Kind of wanted to go somewhere else, and he was like, "Come record at my studio." Had never recorded a stoner metal album in his fucking life, like not even metal. But I was like, "I like you. I just want to make music with like my buds, and I am more than happy to put money in your pocket." So that's kind of how it worked out. And I think he did a phenomenal fucking job. Like I thought he did.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. As of timeline, I don't know. I think we recorded everything. We did like a 12-hour session, like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on like a Sunday, in like February. It was like February 2020. So we recorded everything. I think we did each song in like 2 takes, and we're like, yeah, fuck it, that's fine, I guess. And yeah, we were just there like all day, and then yeah, the pandemic happened. So that kind of put us on pause for like a good 6 months, just because we were all pretty like, I don't know, we all had like people in our lives that were immunosuppressed, so we just wanted to be careful.
Mhm.
So I think we did like a session like August, and I think we did one more in like December, and then we're like, fuck it, we're over it, just put it out, we're done. So that was kind of the timeline. I don't know.
Yeah. What were the extra sessions for if you were if like everything was pretty much recorded in February? Was those just kind of like some last minute overdubs, making sure everything gelled right before dropping it online and whatnot?
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of it was doing more guitar takes,
Okay.
honestly, and then like mixing stuff and just kind of being like, "Oh, do you like this?" And we're like, can you change it just a little bit?" And like really just being honestly assholes about the whole thing, being like, "Oh, it doesn't sound quite right." But I mean, it was a rough mix at that point, and like kind
Yeah,
of
we had no idea. Yeah, so Hunter really wanted us there, part of the mixing process, just because he's never mixed anything like this. So he kind of wanted us a part of it, but the issue is that we had no idea what the fuck we wanted. So I don't know. I think but the amount of bullshit that man put up with us, honestly, God bless him. But I digress for that well. So
Yeah. Having had some studio experience and having had some live experience, where do you guys sit kind of on which end of things you prefer working with? It sounds kind of just like you're leaning towards like live performance and just because you can jam and see a reaction and everything. But as now that you've gone through the studio process and have seen what the end result sounds like, what are your thoughts kind of on that spectrum of like recording and performing and so on?
I like having a finished project, like that's exciting, and like having something that we can like look at and be like, this is what we've done, this is kind of what we've come to over this past few years, and like here's something to prove for it. But I mean, there's nothing better than being in some random dingy basement in Uptown and like
just
seeing
fucked out your mind.
yeah, and like being coated in other people's sweat. Like there's nothing quite like it. But yeah, live
Yeah.
shows definitely.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think, yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the whole process of recording and everything, and like just having something we can put out and be like, here, you can actually listen to our music now. I thought was really cool and really awesome. But I think I would still, yeah, take live performances over that, because I think just like testing it out on the crowd and see if they like how they vibe with it is 10 times better than recording it and just being like, no, I
Does it sound
think it's
good?
good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should we do another take of that, guys?
Yeah. I mean, and that's also like the pretty small studio too. So
Mhm.
definitely a bit more compressed than a basement.
Yeah.
So as a band that is played at least a few handful of shows with a more like metal leaning lineup, and as a band that's also played with some of the more like kind of classic DIY punk bands that people are seeing in basements most of the time. What were your perspectives of kind of like the different sides of things, having like played with a lot of louder bands that are actually loud, or just bands that are loud because they don't know how to work their amps because they're a punk band? Like just having seen these two opposite, not quite opposite, but very different sides of live music, live performance, and just the different energies I'm imagining that those shows had when you were there and playing. I guess to talk a little bit about that.
When that was always funny because we would show up and like no matter what we were gonna take a show, no matter what the lineup is. So there were some nights where we would be playing with like Northern Hammer, who are other stoner doom bands from around the Twin Cities. But then we would also have shows where we're playing with like dad bod, you know?
Yeah, I think I saw
And
that bill, and there's like wild.
yeah, interesting lineup. And it honestly, it was so much fun. Like having it where it's like this very soft and acoustic and just like, and I think that was their full first.
Yeah, that was their first full set. They rocked. That
Yeah,
was such a
They
good
go
gig.
hard live, yeah.
Yeah.
they're amazing. But you know, having it go from that energy to like, all right, smoke weed. Like it's so
Heading to the
fun to
weedy
watch.
unknown and everything.
Yeah, but also it's really fun because usually if people are there for, I mean, those people are all there for dad bods. So by the time, like right when we started, like a solid like third just left.
Oh. Oh no.
But no, it was still so much
I
fun.
was okay with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I love the DIY scene, but I feel like some bands just take themselves very seriously. And it's like yes, the music's good and I think you rock, but like it's not that pressing, you know? Like I think like I've reiterated, like we're in it just to have fun and make music because we're friends. And like I feel like that comes first than like making music that you want other people to hear. So I don't know. I love DIY shows, they're fun as shit, but it's also fun as shit to roll up to a gig. No one knows who the fuck you are. And you just like rip. And like I think we have the same energy whether it's like 3 people in the crowd or like 30. So I don't know, I think that's fun. I just like when nobody knows who the fuck we are and
When there was even a clip of us at, I'm blanking on the bar name.
Terminal.
Oh, Eagles 34.
No, it was at Terminal.
Okay.
We played Eagles a good amount of times, but at Terminal where they had posted a video of us playing Crimson Sky and just acting like some absolute buffoons, and there's like 2 people in the audience. Like,
Yeah,
it's
there was no one at that show.
video.
Yeah, I'm never playing Terminal again. That place was
Yeah.
disgusting.
To add on to what Amia said though, is like I think I don't really give like I think okay, let me start over because I can't form the words.
Love you, Michael.
You got a
Me
king.
too, Brian. This is gonna take like 1 to 3 business days.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Longest interview ever.
I don't think it's a difference of like their musical ability that really gets me. It's more of like if like they're chill dudes, which is what Mia said earlier. Because like there's people that like take their shit way too seriously and take themselves way too seriously. I'm not gonna call out names, but they know who they are. Oh my God. And it's just like you're not a fun person to be around. And then there's the other people who are like super chill, and you know that's like really fun when you get like a bill of just like super fun people who are just there to have a good time, rather than try to be the best band there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like no basement is really conducive to like high art. So like chill out, guys. Come on.
You just
Stoner
like
metal in itself
jams
is
during
not
your
hard.
set.
Yeah. Kind of continue on with that. And this is I'm possibly just like not like connected with any I guess a quote unquote metal scene in the cities if there even is one. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of younger bands playing like really loud music. Like, there's like a few I can think of, like Ash Springer I think is another one, and then like there's a few others I at least I'm thinking of. I can't remember the names, but it just doesn't seem like there's that many compared to how many like 3-chord punk bands there are. And not to slander them, they're great, but does that play into like kind of how you've experienced shows, just as kind of not like a token metal band, but just as the only one making music that loud in probably like a 30-mile vicinity that night or something like that, especially for like that isn't like a touring band or like somebody's dad. If there's any dad metal bands out there, hit us up. We want to interview you. Yeah, just talk a little bit about being like, I guess, being a part of that genre and that scene, just as there aren't that many younger bands doing that. And as many younger bands they're drawn to, or younger people rather drawn to see that even. That was kind of a convoluted question, so if I need to repeat something, let me know.
Well, it is kind of funny because yeah, the only like heavier bands that we have in the cities are either punk bands like you were talking about, or any of the bands that are in really the metal scene are super core influenced. Like they're like metalcore, deathcore bands, and like that's about it. There's some really cool hardcore bands in the
That's
city.
very true.
Yes, yeah.
That's been really cool to see. But yeah, we're kind of like in that bridge between like we're not as heavy as like the crazy hardcore bands, but like then there's this like Midwest emo punk side, and it's kind of fun being like the filling between that sandwich, you know. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just like we've never really like tried to play a bill where it's like, yeah, like only stoner metal or like I don't
Not
know.
even just like stoner metal, just like I feel like a lot of people tend to separate hardcore and metal, even though
Yeah,
a lot
it's-
of hardcore is obviously like awesome, super loud, super fast, but
right.
like just kind of more metal in general, like whether that's like thrash or even like power metal. I don't know if there's power metal bands out there. They're all from Germany probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I just never really thought about it. Like I know when we started, I don't think we realized until like the first couple of gigs that we were like, wow, there really isn't any stoner metal bands like in the cities. Like we just never really thought about it. And it is a little weird. Like it would be a lot more fun to have more stoner metal bands. Like we got a lot of indie bands, which is like nothing against that at all. But like it'd be fun to see more genres come out of Minneapolis besides like the same like garage indie. You know what I'm talking about. So.
Hippocampus bootlicking, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a little bit
I
of
love
like
you all.
No
Yeah.
disrespect. No disrespect.
Yeah.
to him.
No, I'm kidding.
But no, yeah, it's like I don't know. A lot of people kind of sound kind of similar, which is like again, make your art that you want to make. But like, I just think it'd be fun to have more genres, and I think it's fun that like we're able to provide something just a little different. But I don't think that was ever really again our intention. I think we just it just kind of happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But there's Northern Hammer now. And
Yeah,
I
Northern
love
Hammer
it.
slaps. So
Okay.
there's
shout them out.
Strange Frequency.
Yeah,
I think you know.
Yes.
Who there's a drone band.
Sacred Oak.
Yeah, Sacred Oak.
Sacred
Was
Oak
drone or
slaps.
drone metal? Because those are different.
I would say drone metal.
Okay. Because like
Yeah.
drone is more like someone's playing like a single piano note for like 2 minutes at
Yeah.
a time. And let me tell you, love that, but very different.
That but guitar with fuzz on it.
Yeah.
Touche. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Cool. That kind of wraps up the main portion of what I want to chat with y'all about tonight. But you mentioned that you haven't been able to practice a whole lot for very obvious reasons. But as vaccinations are increasing, and maybe even you three have been able to get vaccinated, what does the future hold for Haze Gazer? What are you guys hoping to do going forward? Whether that's just kind of, I mean, obviously play shows once those are back, but even if there's anything that you're thinking of beyond that, and if there isn't, I can't blame you. Shows coming back is huge.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, we've been writing stuff throughout this entire process, and like while we really haven't been able to work on them too much in person, I think there's a solid amount of songs that we've heard that we're excited about, and hopefully we can do some more recording before the year is up. I think we were talking about maybe doing a summer release, but
yeah, I got you, baby.
to
I got
that.
you. We talked about this. So Brian and I are both fully vaccinated. So him and I have been meeting just a little bit the past like month or so, because I've been fully vaxxed since like April. So him and I have been meeting a lot. And then we have our first full band practice like this Thursday, which we're really
That's
excited
huge.
about.
Awesome.
I know, right? I don't think we've all been in the same room since like our like live stream in like January. So I'm really excited. So yeah, Brian and I were just chit chatting about like putting out like just like a demo album on Bandcamp because it's like I'm done with school, Michael's done with school almost, and we're just all kind of working, so we got the time. And then we kind of have 4 songs we're kind of sitting on right now, hoping to record for an EP. Come like late August.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we're vibing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The words just didn't say it right on my.
Okay, you got it. No, it's okay.
The words didn't just say right. That sums it up. That's.
It wasn't me. The words did it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Don't gaslight the words. Stop it.
Gaslight my words as much as I want.
Okay. I like getting the feel for what other bands that you three are into, for local bands especially. You already mentioned a few, so if you just want to mention those again, maybe shout out any other bands you've been bumping lately, from either from the cities or just kind of underground bands or underappreciated bands. You need to take a second to pull out your Spotify. By all means, now is the time to do so. Yeah, I just love getting people's thoughts on what maybe they think people should be listening to, because there's so much out there.
I've been listening to the new Gross Motor All Stars EP. I saw them live, like the one gig they played like right before the pandemic at the garage. I thought they ripped so fucking hard. And I love that EP. So I've listened to a lot of Gross Motor All Stars lately. I think they rip hard. So yeah. Yeah. And shout out Allergen, of course. I'll do that.
Biased. I'm gonna tell Shannon you said that.
Yeah, please. I saw Shannon this morning. I was in my bathrobe. It was pretty brutal. You have to tell him that. It was interesting.
I think we need to shout out the boys, Blue Driver and Elbow House.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
God bless.
definitely.
Live, laugh, Blue Driver.
That's facts. All is those like 4 to 5 that belong to those 2 bands are just like, each one of them is like the king of their own. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
like,
yeah.
The loveliest people of all time.
Facts. And they also got bitchin' Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Antonio and Henry's Twitter account has been like the rock in my life as of late.
I think Henry has liked every single one of my tweets that I've ever posted, and I think it's just out of like sympathy. Like, it's not even funny. Like, I think he just does it just to like hype me up a little bit.
Honestly.
That's what friends are for.
And then I don't know, like this is not from Minnesota and it's not really underground, but me and Brian were talking about this like a little bit like a couple weeks ago. But that new Genesis Owusu record.
Oh, it's so good.
So fucking good. So
it's like
that.
It's so short, but like it manages to make just I don't know. Like, words can't describe it. It's a delicious album.
I love when albums taste good.
Oh, this album is so yummy. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of like Optimal Crime recently.
Yep.
Those guys are sick. Blue Venus, they're
hell yeah.
amazing.
Hell yeah.
Like, those guys are so great. A lot of Mall recently as well. Yeah, those have been kind of the 3, just trying to appreciate the Minnesota and Midwest hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Oh, I got one more. Everybody knows Stars Hollow released their new album on Friday.
Yeah, they did.
So good. I bought the shirt that says I bought this shirt for Stars Hollow to release LP1. I love them. I think they're so good. I think they rock so hard.
Yeah.
I love it. Love that album. Anyways, yeah.
This is probably going to come out afterwards, but if you haven't listened to our Stars Hollow episode, you should do that as soon as you're done with this. Dear listener, person at home, it feels weird to talk directly to people that don't exist. Cool. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. It was a pleasure to finally get a chance to chat. Haze Gazer's EP, Ascension, is available on all streaming platforms, and it's available for purchase on Bandcamp as well, if I'm not mistaken. If Bandcamp Fridays come back, add it to your wish list. And if they don't, do it anyways. And I guess stay tuned for new music sometime soon from these guys. Again, thanks so much for taking the time to chat. And yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
The Ear Coffee podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @Ear Coffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.